Okay, we are live, I think. Hopefully, nothing
Right.
after all the troubleshooting and technical difficulties and everybody getting frustrated at audio issues. And I think we've got it mostly figured out. Hopefully, the music's not too loud, trying to make it a little bit ambient in here tonight. As always, I'm Doug, one of the founders of the Window Bros. And we have John with us.
What's up? Happy to be on here.
Yeah. And we have Christy, our little waifu in the bottom right corner.
Hello.
Short and sweet. But it's so we're talking about a case of the Voos tonight. So I hope everyone's doing okay tonight, and hopefully you feel like you haven't done this before. We have Jonathan Michael Linkford in the chat already. Spec up. So hopefully we sound crystal clear and lots of audio. We're going to try to get it to where you guys can call in tonight too. So hopefully that works out just fine. If you're looking at the chat, we do have our socials in that link tree. So you can click that link tree. You can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitch, Kick, Instagram. What else we have? We have a lot. We're across the board. And I think we're about 3,000 strong for Window Bros now. So that is huge for us. Somewhere I never thought that we would be, and especially since it started out as just a way to hang out with friends. So here we are, and we're now like we're a legitimate unit now. I guess I feel pretty illegitimate most days. But a case of the Voos, and I'm going to try to pronounce all these, and hopefully Christy can correct me. I was in there screaming these at her earlier, trying to sound as French as possible. And I didn't even read the fact that she actually had the pronunciations on the bottom. So I was just screaming it with just how I thought it was supposed to sound. What's that?
You did pretty well.
Yeah. I think it sounded sexy. That's what I go for on a snowy day like today. You kind of got to get a little bit hot in order to melt that ice out there. So. But yeah, that snow, it's unreal here in the South right now. I think it's probably the worst snow we've had in 10 years, I think.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember it being this snowy and about that long.
Yeah. I mean, it's rough out there. So you guys be careful. Which, let me go ahead and change this back real quick. Yeah. So let me go ahead and go through the list, and hopefully Christy can walk us through a lot of these. So this is a topic that Christy picked tonight. Last time we had Casey, who was talking about Duende, and it was funny because he was like, "Yeah, I took 3 shots of liquor before I went live on air, and that helped me be more brave." So if anybody needs to take a quick liquor break, just go ahead and turn your camera off and hop away. So Christy, you're good. You can leave it. Oh, there you go. Yeah, just like that.
Should have done that about 15 minutes ago.
Well, we got moonshine and tequila in the cabinet, so hopefully, I would say hopefully we don't get deplatformed, but we certainly can't get demonetized because we're not even monetized on. Hey, I take that back. Our podcast has earned a whopping 3 cents. I looked up the other day, 3 cents from ad revenue. So. Looking at the obvious one, we have Déjà Vu, and let me see here. Oh, got my notes all jumbled up. I'm just going to go through the categories. We have Déjà Vu. We have Jamais Vu. Is that correct?
Jamais Vu.
Jamais Vu. Then we have Déjà Vécu. Déjà Senti. Déjà visité, déjà rêvé, presque vu. That doesn't sound French at all. Presque vu. No. Déjà pensé, déjà entendu, Dijon mustard, Dijon pensé. Déjà entendu, and déjà connu, and then we have jamais vécu. Did I do okay? I do all right.
Well enough.
Oh, hey, look at that! On Kick already, we have somebody saying, "Let's promote you. Come on over." Let's not. So let's go ahead and block that user real quick. We are live, so we are going to potentially get these promote bots in here. So we appreciate the good publicity, I suppose, too, but just not that kind. So. All right. So, what do we want to start with? The obvious case of deja vu. I feel like we've always done this. I feel like this has happened before. We always have technical difficulties, so that's certainly some deja vu right there.
Right.
I hope the stream is coming through well. We're using a new platform tonight. Seems like we're always alternating platforms too. But deja vu. How often do you guys experience that?
Well, at least like maybe once every couple weeks, at least.
I actually, I do jamais vécu quite a bit. But we can get into that.
Okay, yeah, I don't know a lot about that. Like, I know about deja vu. I probably experience deja vu, if not every day, at least every other day. I always feel like I'm
Yeah.
walking into a situation that I'm like, okay, I've been there before. So, okay,
I
so
do jamais vu quite a bit.
so what's jamais vu, Christy?
See, jamais vu is French for never seen, and it's basically the opposite of deja vu. It's when something that you should be familiar with suddenly feels just wrong or alien. Um, Probably the best example would be semantic satiation, which is repeating a word or thought until it loses its meaning. Like
Mhm.
if you look
Right.
at a word long enough, like the word spoon, it's like that word looks so wrong.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, yeah. Oftentimes you and I'll be sitting on the couch and we'll look at each other like, how do you spell that word again? And it always surprises us whenever the other spells it very differently than the way we remember that.
Right.
And it's also attributed to like dissociation, which is a mental process characterized by a disconnection from one's thoughts, memories, identity, emotions, or surroundings. And depersonalization, which are instances where one feels unfamiliar with their own surroundings or self.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, déjà canu. Did I say that right? French for already known. I was actually looking like that. Tombstone's dead airtime. Thank you for joining the live. I repeat words so often they become foreign. That's the thing. Yeah, it is. It is. So good job, Christy, for putting a label on that because I never knew about it too until tonight. I'm pretty unfamiliar with a lot of these, but I'm going through her list. So, and big thank you to Christy for getting all this together for us.
Yeah.
But déjà conu, French for already known, a strong sense that you know something without remembering how you know it, a psychological phenomenon where a newly encountered person feels familiar as if they remind the observer of someone else, distinct from déjà vu, which relates to situations. It is a near universal experience, often tied to positive and or the familiar. This plays hard into intuition, and that's pretty interesting because in many cases I guess if you really want to break it down to like the basics there, the bare, like just strip everything away, we always call that like your gut instinct, trusting your gut instinct. I rely pretty heavily on my gut instinct, my intuition, and I will say that the times that I don't listen to my gut instinct are the times that I should have, because it never fails me. And here lately, I feel like I've been listening to it less and less and less, and I've had more issues because I haven't been trusting my intuition on things. So, but yeah, it's crazy to look at this and actually see that there's a name for a lot of these ways, a lot of the ways that we feel.
Hmm.
Um, I just wonder, if it's and obviously, we're a paranormal group, but we don't just look at ghosts. We look at phenomena. Um, and it always feels like that ever since John and I started studying like the quantum side of things, we always kind of circle back to the quantum side of things. It's never,
Yeah.
and it's so funny though, because the way I'm going to word this, it's like a spiral and it's never ending. We always circle right back to where we were in the quantum side of things too. And it makes me wonder if the reason why that we're experiencing all these dejas or Dijons is just because, are we all interconnected, or is this all a simulation? I mean, what do you guys think?
I think you're kind of onto something. Lily, my wife, was talking to me the other day and talking about how they have the scientific thought around our brains has changed recently, and they now consider our brains to be quantum computers.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, I've seen that.
and so it really I don't know, it makes some things seem like they make a little bit more sense when it comes to these. I don't know. There's a couple of thoughts I want to get into a little later, but
Okay.
but but yeah, I think it has something to do with it. When you think about our brains as actual computers, these some of the triggers or the reasonings behind these phenomenon seem to make sense. I think.
I like Tombstone's comment there, Dijon mustard memories. I feel like our brains are pretty much made of mustard yeah, at any given time. So yeah, that's a good analogy for it for sure. Yeah. So yeah, it looks like Facebook's coming through just fine. That's good.
Cool.
But yeah, um, it's such a strange feeling, and then the idea of premonition as well too, and it's funny because, and again, I think synchronicity is such a common word that I find us all using here lately, and I blame Christy for that because she's the one that turned me on to synchronicity, and I was like, it is what it is, blah 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 blah. But then I started noticing certain things. Like every day I hear her going, up 11:11. What's the other one that you always say?
1234.
12:34. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so as I started paying attention to synchronicity, I said, wow, things really do happen quite often. And the reason why, and I tend to get long winded about things whenever I'm trying to circle back. Um, we're getting ready to shoot our new documentary, which has everything to do with Appalachian witchcraft and practitioners, paganism, which I think is going to be really good. But um, one of the things in there talks about seers, and in my family, my grandmother was considered a seer
Mhm.
or a clairvoyant, and it got passed on from women to women and from all the women in the family. And I frequently have dreams. And I remember being in John's basement where a lot of strange conversations happen whenever we were teenagers. But John's basement was a common theme. But I remember talking to, I think it was Brand, Casey, and you. And I remember I was so freaked out because I kept having, dreams that would eventually resurface, and it would almost be down to like the minute detail of where I would have these dreams, and the scenarios would typically happen. And I remember I freaked my dad out so bad because I had a dream that he was walking around downtown Elizabeth and had stopped into a furniture shop and talked to a guy. And I got out of bed and I said, "Hey," I said, "I had this strange dream, Dad." I think I was in the fourth grade, and I told him that. He goes, "Doug, I did go to a furniture shop today and talk to this guy," and I explained the guy in vivid detail about it too.
Hmm.
And I don't like the term like psychic, and it seems like that's thrown psychic medium and all that stuff's thrown around too loosely. I almost feel, and I'm not sitting here claiming that any of us are mystics or anything like that. Certainly not me, because I don't know if I'm coming or going most days. Um, but it makes me wonder if we all just have that certain part of our brain, and we're all capable of something like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think you're onto something because I mean, I know how close you were with your dad. Like,
Yeah,
like you and your dad were very close. That was,
yeah,
and so I think that sometimes when you get on that wavelength, maybe like,
yeah,
with somebody, then you can kind of share more than just words, and you can share feelings. It's like when somebody you really care about just walks in the room, and you can tell that they're having a bad day. Like
Yeah,
something's
absolutely.
happened, something bad has happened, and you're on that wavelength. So I think that's legitimate.
And I think if you wanted to put some science behind it, you could almost say, it could be down to a DNA or molecular level. I know that whenever you and I were studying, a lot of the quantum immortality side of things, um, one of the research topics that I found was that we actually retain DNA memories from our bloodline. And so
Right.
maybe you
Yeah.
could be remembering that. Maybe you could be synced in. And in a way, I kind of get what you're saying now, like with like the story about, seeing my dad at the furniture shop. Um, Maybe in a way, where we were linked DNA and my dad and I, you're right. I mean, we were very in sync on a lot of things.
Mhm.
Um, could I have, it could have been some kind of weird molecular remote viewing, of share, of shared
Right. Right.
DNA. It's strange.
It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So looking at deja vu, things that have already happened. Um, what's some other interesting ones that we have there? Christy, I know you talked a little bit about jamais vu. Is that what it was, or there was one that
Jamais
you
vu.
jamais vu?
What's
Yeah,
the
that's
one?
I've never seen. You've already talked about that.
mhm.
Let's see here.
It was jamais vécu that you said that you felt a lot. Is that right?
Yeah, but we can get to that one later if we're talking about the jamais vu.
Right.
That's French for never seen. So you've something extremely familiar just suddenly feels wrong, and then basically the opposite of that is the déjà vécu, which is
Mhm.
already lived, which you haven't lived it, but you feel like you have. So those two are kind of like the opposites of each other.
Okay.
Do you think that could fall into past lives?
It could.
Yeah.
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 Anymore, the more I study about things, the more I'm more keen to believe in the idea of reincarnation, or past lives. I've never personally have done a past life regression. I don't know if I'd want to,
Right.
because it'd probably either be something very traumatic or something very dull that killed me. That's I don't know. It's one of those things I don't really want to know, but I do believe that. I do believe that we could be dealing with some kind of imprint of a past life if you walk into a situation or an environment that you've never known before. Um, yeah, I was actually looking into. You guys keep saying that we're going to get back to these things. So I'm trying to figure out how to set you all up a little bit. I'm I'm looking at I'm actually looking at a Reddit story right now, and the student trapped in a perpetual time loop. And this is actually from a deja vu subreddit. But that story was one of the most chilling cases. Involves a 23-year-old British university student who began experiencing frightening episodes of deja vu shortly after starting college. Unlike the typical fleeting feeling, his episodes lasted for minutes or even longer, making him feel like he was reliving every moment as if retrieving it from his memory. It started mildly, but intensified as time went on, especially after periods of anxiety or cannabis use. He described watching TV or reading as unbearable because everything felt like a rerun to him.
Mm.
He'd even avoid new experiences to escape the sensation of familiarity. Doctors diagnosed it as chronic deja vu, possibly linked to anxiety disorder disrupting the brain's frontal temporal lobe, which handles memory and familiarity. This case was studied by researchers from the UK, France, and Canada, who noted it as the first of its kind without underlying epilepsy. A similar report detailed how his deja vu became so debilitating that he felt stuck in an endless time loop, questioning reality itself.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
it makes me wonder. I mean, could it be? I don't know. Could you call that a disorder or and sometimes whenever you meet people and they don't feel like they're of this world, or
Mhm.
which Christy, I think you mentioned it earlier. It was you were like, I don't know how much I want to get into it because it could get kind of dark, but maybe you could elaborate a little bit. But it was talking about depersonalization and disassociation too.
Yeah, that is. It can be part of it. That's more with the jamais vu, deja vu. It's actually you can be diagnosed with pathological deja vu, and it's typically a sign of temporal lobe epilepsy, and it occurs as part of like a seizure aura. So right before these people have seizures, they start experiencing like really heavy deja vu, things like
Mhm.
that, and then
Mm.
that's like just part of an oncoming seizure. But you can be diagnosed with pathological deja vu and then have no signs of the temporal lobe epilepsy.
Hmm. Well, I was also researching too, and I didn't really save it on there just because it's one of those things I really don't like to get into too much. But it was essentially stating that those who suffer from severe dementia, or as dementia progresses, they can also be stuck in a perpetual state of deja vu too. Which, if you really think about it, does kind of make sense because they start remembering things that are familiar to them, or they get certain memories, or they get stuck in loops of things that have happened in the past. And I guess if you wanted to go the paranormal sci-fi route, it makes me wonder is if the veil or the simulation is somewhat lifting, and that is, are they stuck in that? Because the brain is an incredible thing that we still don't know nearly everything about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be one of those people that we only use 20% of our brain. No, we use 100% of what we have, but but it's just it's just such a strange thing, because I'm trying to remember how many terabytes that they said that our brains can actually hold
Uh,
whenever you look at it in the way of like a quantum computer that you had mentioned, John.
mm. Yeah, I think one of the things that whole we only use a certain percentage of our brain. I think what they kind of mean is that we can only use a certain percentage of it at one time. Like, can you imagine if you could do like have multiple thoughts at once and do? I mean, like it's one thing to like multitask,
Hmm.
but to literally like I don't know, write a poem in your head and plan out dinner and think about what you're going to do tomorrow and just
Hmm.
all this stuff. I think it's interesting, but uh, I had not heard or read about that dementia link until a little earlier. I thought that was very interesting, and that it makes sense. That
Yeah, it seems like everything's frontal temporal whenever they actually look at it too. And in fact, I actually have a document right here, deja vu as a symptom of a. And again, trigger warning: I don't want to give anybody any anxiety, and then you shift realities. I'm a bundle of anxiety myself. I think all of us here are, and so that's the last thing I want to do. But deja vu as a symptom of a brain tumor. Pat Long, who was a music journalist, endured what he called extreme deja vu that made him doubt the nature of reality. It began subtly, but evolved into a constant state where every new moment felt like a vivid replay from the past. This wasn't just familiarity, it was an overwhelming conviction that he'd lived it before. Doctors eventually discovered a brain tumor in his frontal temporal lobe, triggering epileptic auras, seizures that manifest as intense memory like hallucinations, often accompanied by severe deja vu. A pioneering neurologist, John Hewlings Jackson, described these auras in 1898 as including vivid memory like hallucinations with a sense of impossibility. Long cases highlight how deja vu can signal serious neurological issues like tumors causing gradual brain cell death and perpetual deja vu, lived through deja vu.
hmm.
Everything's related.
Mhm.
And then from Reddit, I also have another one called, or it's not called anything. But when I was about 9 years old, I broke a dish and was sent up to my room. I went up and I felt strange, like I was in an unfamiliar place. I don't know why. I got chills and very cautiously nudged the door open to look inside. My room was all different. There was different furniture. I felt an icy stab in my chest when I noticed the silhouette of a man against my brightly lit window. I managed to let out a sorry before bolting down the stairs, screaming for my parents. They went up and just shook their heads. Sure enough, the room was normal. I just forgot about this as I got older. Years later, our longtime neighbors sold their place, and the new family had just moved in. They had a daughter about my age, 17 at the time. I noticed her right away because she was gifted and didn't seem shy about it given her choice of attire. One day, I was upstairs in my room and I noticed her in the backyard. I couldn't help but stare, especially because the downward angle gave me an even better peek. So I just stood there like a creepy teenager staring at this girl. Well, uh, then I heard a tiny sorry behind me and the door shutting. It scared me to death until I remembered what happened when I was 9. I ran downstairs to my parents just as before. I asked them if they remembered the time I broke the dish and they sent me upstairs. I asked if they were remembering when I said my room was different. They said I was always keen to make up bullshit stories to get out of trouble. But they did recall me saying there was a man in my room looking out the window. So I'm not sure how much I believe that story, but it's kind of a neat ending to that too, because
Right.
he as a child he saw himself at 17, and at 17 he heard himself as a child saying I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's pretty
That's
neat.
All right, what do you guys got?
Let's see. I I uh, Presque happens to me all the time. That tip of the tongue feeling,
Oh
French
yeah.
almost seen. It's you know that you know the thing, but the answer is right there. Um, and uh, it like an intense feeling of being on the very brink of a powerful epiphany inside a revelation without achieving it. Happens to me all the time. Like I'll try to be thinking of a word and it's just right there, and it takes so long to figure out what that word is. I don't understand why that happens all the time.
That happens a lot too, especially as I've gotten older, where like I'm just trying to think of something. In fact, it happened to me last night because I was watching Fallout and I couldn't remember the names of certain characters. And then again, it leads to that paranoia, like, oh God, is there something wrong with me? Is my memory slipping?
Yeah.
Um, and then I had to actually go to like IMDb and look up the names of the characters in the show. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's it. But yeah, it's always a strange feeling. And and I'll say like whenever you walk into a room and you know exactly what you're walking into it for, but then you walk past that threshold and you completely forget what you even walked in there for.
Yeah.
Brain fart.
Yeah.
Brain fart. Yeah. Yeah.
Does that
And
tend to
then
happen to you when you're like busy, like you're like in the middle of like a project, or like you've got a long list of things to do? Does that have you noticed? Does that impact that at all from your knowledge or memory?
I think that if I'm not structured throughout my day, it happens more often. I tend to make lists and try to follow them as much as possible in order to avoid that feeling.
Right.
If I don't do that, then as I'm going through, and what I always try to avoid is going from A to D to B to C. Like I want to try to actually go through A through D throughout my day, and it may alternate or change so long as I'm sticking to that list. But if I don't do that, and if I go without a list, or if I go without some kind of structure throughout my day, then I'm going to basically forget why I even got up in the morning in the first place. And that's where I usually fall into.
Right.
I forget words constantly.
Same. Same, 100%. Yep.
And then for like you have the Presque Vu, and then you have I'm looking up, make sure I'm saying it right.
Chocolat bleu. Chocolat vu.
Déjà pensé.
Ooh.
That's French for already thought. So it's basically you feel like you have thought that before, and then it's like it's tied to obsessive thinking, anxiety, looping thought patterns, things like that. Like you can look at something, like you look at a book, and you're like, oh, this book is called Midnight Voices. And then you look at another book and you see Midnight Voices.
Hmm.
And you're like, well, then you're like, well, I thought I already thought that type thing.
Yeah.
It's like I'll tell you another horrible feeling too is whenever Johnson multiple thoughts. Like imagine I have multiple random thoughts, especially whenever I'm going to bed, and they typically just bombard me to the point to where it can overload me, and also getting the feeling about things like, oh man, I hope this doesn't happen, but then you kind of manifest it and the anxiety takes over
Yeah.
and you can almost work yourself into like a panic attack, which I mean, Christy, you and I do that probably too often here lately.
All the time.
Yeah, because I think you and I are constantly coming out, hey, do you think I'm having a heart attack? It's that terrible dread. But that's a very, the mind is such a powerful thing because you really can, and taking the mysticism out of it, but at the same time, I kind of believe the mysticism behind it is that manifestation is a hell of a thing. And people say, oh, I manifest my destiny, I manifest all good things. We can do the exact opposite too. I think without, subconsciously, I believe that we're manifesting our day to day lives. We're manifesting the negative as well too. And what is that if not, a projection? We're thinking it and we're so set on it, we're going to make it happen. And then when people say, well, my life never works out, you might be clouded with a lot of negative thoughts that, hey, this may not work out. And you've already set yourself up for failure.
Yeah. Yeah. As somebody who struggles with depression, you have to. I have to consciously like tell myself, be positive, think positive thoughts, don't think negative thoughts, don't let it fill up your thoughts the rest of the day because it will. It is a downward spiral, and you just if you wake up that way, I try to be positive. Like right when I wake up, I try to have a positive thought if I can. But
Yeah, and that's something I need to get better at. Let's see. Tombstone says, I call it streamnesia, forgetting everything when you're live. Hell yeah to that. I think I have 3 pages of notes in front of me, and then I have OneNote file right in front of me. So yeah, it's those are things that you definitely have to, in order to. I have to have something, because otherwise I'll continue to ramble and ramble and ramble. And then Stevie Irwin, like that name, with the ghost emoji. So, yep, that's what we're here for the paranormal. Um, all right. Well, I got another topic. I got another topic I want to get into, and it's going to be kind of uh, in pun intended, it's going to turn things a little bit upside down.
ooh,
But before we do that, I want to. What were the thing? What were you guys holding off before I get into that?
There was just two more that I wanted to talk about, but it's
Let's make it happen.
so the next one. Like I'm a big music person. All three of
Mhm.
us are.
I used to be.
I really am.
Yeah, you are. You are.
You have a déjà entendu,
Hmm.
which is French for already heard, and it's you hear a brand new song, and you're like, wait a minute, I've already heard that. Um, Music is typically the one that triggers this the hardest.
yeah,
You can be talking to somebody and they say they're telling you a story, and you think, well, I've already heard this, or you hear a brand new song you've never heard anymore or you've never heard before,
hmm
and that's deja entendu. And yes, John, it is the name of a brand new album.
It is.
Yeah. I like that on the notes that you put in there too. Yeah.
No, I just thought when I learned that, I thought that was just so tongue in cheek and so funny, so on the nose. Band named Brand New, and their album is already heard. So I was like, that's funny. I like it.
It's confident. But there are a lot of times where like I'll hear a song and I'll sit there and like I swear I've heard this before, and maybe we could chalk it up to the idea that the whole old person mentality of all music sounds the same, which to me I tend to go after a lot of different music and make it a point to like not to listen to things that all sound the same. But there's times I'll listen to a song and I'm like I've definitely heard this before, but I don't know where. Even down to like hearing the lyric or even knowing the lyrics to an extent, which Christy's probably rolling her eyes because I can't remember the lyrics to just about any song. So
it's not that you don't remember them; you just mess them up.
I do mess them up a lot. All right, what was the other one? Is that it?
I mean, you have Jamais Vécu, which this one can go into a darker territory. So
Was that the one about dissociation that I was talking about earlier?
yeah,
Okay.
it's French for never lived, and it's feeling emotionally disconnected from events that should feel meaningful. Like if you go, like say all of us, we went out to have dinner or something, and we're all talking about memories that we've shared, and then I'm sitting there completely emotionless. It's like I should be feeling this, I should be knowing this, and then you just don't. Like it should be there, but it's not. And it's often associated with depersonalization, depression, stress. And then, unlike total memory loss, in the jamais vu state, you're aware that you should know the situation, but the feeling of recognition is absent.
Hmm.
And I personally suffer from that pretty often.
Yeah. And it's a horrible feeling, and I know that we're trying not to go into darker territory, but a lot of the times whenever I talk about certain things, it's just to let people know that they're not really alone. I can tell you in the height of my heart issue or my stroke issues, and then going into my heart issues and COVID issues. I suffered pretty heavily with a slew of mental health disorders, and there were times like I would go up to you and say like I don't even feel like I'm in the world right now, like I don't even feel like I'm here at this moment, like I feel like I am seeing what's in front of me, but I'm not here.
Right.
And you talk about a terrible feeling. That is a terrible feeling because you kind of feel like you're almost seeing yourself in the third person in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being disconnected like that is definitely a bad feeling.
Yeah. And it's like we try to avoid darker topics. We try to keep it a little bit lighthearted, but sometimes you got to shine a light on the darkness, and that's me being preachy right there. Sometimes we got to be a light in the darkness and say, hey, you may be dealing with that, but a lot of people are too, and it's okay to speak about it.
Like you're not alone. Other people deal with that, and just because you deal with it, that doesn't mean something's wrong with you.
That's why we're the Window Bros. We're here to be your bros, and if you guys are dealing with anything, mental health related, absolutely reach out to us. We're not certified for anything, but yeah, it's but we're here to listen too.
Yeah.
Detachment is that's right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So John, did you have something, or Christy, were you any other topics that you want to cover on that?
I think we got them all, didn't we?
I think so. I know John said he had a couple things to get into later. And don't let me put you on the spot. I can go ahead and take over. Yeah.
No, it'll come back around to that whole quantum computer thing.
Okay. Well, that'll be a good because I can bounce off of you with the. So what about quantum computers?
Oh well. Okay. Well, there was also another thing that was brought up earlier. Past lives.
Yeah.
And the other day, Clark And all right, let me give just a little second of backstory. So, my father-in-law passed away a couple weeks ago. You all know that.
Mm-hmm.
Just so everybody's aware. Um, Clark is my 8-year-old son. He seems to take things in stride, and he's not really. It hasn't really seemed to affect him that much. Maybe a little bit. But the other day he said that um, he said uh, Popsy can't come back for another year and a half. And I said, what? And he said, that's how long it takes before you can come back. And I was like, what are you talking about? And my son has autism, so he I don't know if he just has seen. We've never talked to him about reincarnation. He's talked about it before, and it's just not something we've talked to him about. We've not talked to him about major religions and stuff because where he's autistic, he learns certain things at different levels and different speeds, and so it's just not something that we've gotten into. But he has always been very adamant since he started talking at like 5 that we come back, that we have different lives, and I always thought that was very strange. And then when you brought up past lives earlier, it just where he just said it like a couple days
Synchronicity.
ago. Yeah, he just said it a couple days ago, um, and with our brains being the quantum computers, they say scientifically that this is closer to what is actually happening because we know so little about quantum computers and stuff that I guess it just makes more sense. But um, there's this they've shown scientifically that when you pass away, there's like you have like a bioluminescence, right? You have this light that's in your body that is just it's always going. I think that's why when women are pregnant, they glow.
They glow.
They have two. They've got another body within them, and so it's like double that bioluminescence. But they some people believe that if our brains are quantum computers and we have this knowledge pool, this link that when you're passing and your life might be flashing before your eyes or all this other stuff. Some people believe that that is your brain getting uploaded into the mega
the
universe, and so I think that if it let's just say that that's true, just for conversational topics, then it's so easy for data to get rerouted to different places, for hiccups in the connection. And if you really are like just going up into the universe or whatever, who's to say that you don't, your data doesn't brush by somebody else's data, so to speak. And when you're coming down, if you are coming back, let's just for conversations, then who's to say that you didn't glean some knowledge or information from somebody else on the way down, and that might be what this some of these feelings are, is that you feel like you've experienced it, you feel like you've lived it, but that's because your consciousness touched the consciousness of somebody else who actually did, and so that's why it kind of seems really familiar to you. And I just thought that was an interesting thought to share.
No. I loved every bit of that. I think that Clark is probably wise beyond his years. And I think that but and I could be wrong about that. But even like whenever you look at Catholicism, and it's not to even bring that into the equation, but they do speak about reincarnation. And I want to say that they say like it takes about a year or so to actually come back from that. And I like your idea of you touching other essentially other data and then coming back with that residual data too. And who's to say that where your father-in-law, where he passed, and there's that shared DNA between him and your son. If he didn't if he's not picking up on that. And even if we look at it there too, hey there, traveling fools. Hope that you're doing well. But even if we look at that too, I lost my train of thought. See, that's my problem. I get distracted. But I do believe that that on a molecular level, and I think you had touched on it many years ago. Not many years ago, like 3 years ago. Time flies too fast. But 3 years ago, you had said that thought, had matter, and all that had, it was when we die. It's such an amazing thing, and I know that sounds crazy to say. It's such an amazing thing. Death is scary for those who are going through the death itself, but after that, it's such an amazing thing. And for me, it's more frightening for those who remain, because we're seeing it from the outside and not looking from there. But when you die, and the reason why I say it's amazing is that your atoms remain, like your electrical structure, that all remains. And it just and who's to say that doesn't go back into what we would call, like, the life stream or frequency, and frequency is a hell of a thing too. And this is all just going back to science. Frequency is very real. So whenever you talked about us hitting other data out there, it perked my ears to say, okay, well, yeah, the frequencies are intermingling. And if you wanted to break, and I'm looking at it from a different point of perspective, but maybe that frequency is hearing this frequency and coming back, and then it comes back down. Yeah, that was I thought that was very poignant. I thought that was a great story that you shared. I'm glad that you shared it.
Yeah, thank you. It's very strange. I was telling Lily the other night that essentially we are a series of thoughts and synapses, like electrical impulses that are occurring in a pattern that's been made from our lives, our experiences and stuff, because the way that we think and the way that we act, the way that we move, everything is all based on electrical impulses in our brain. So like, that's what we are, really.
Yeah.
Electricity is a form of power, and so it's so strange to think that our soul might just be that electricity. It might be a sort of a divine electricity, so to speak. And just a very strange little thing that I thought of, came across the other day, is in the Bible, there's a lot of times where when people report talking to or seeing angels, there's number of times that it says that they appeared as a bolt of lightning, or something like that. And I always thought that was very. I don't know if it's just imagery that they're going for when they were writing it, or if it was literal, like just did they just appear out of nowhere in a blink of an eye, or was there actually like a bolt of lightning shot down and there they were? Because that would be interesting, thinking about the whole upload download of our consciousness.
Yeah. So, yeah. And, I think the other thing, too, is, and I'm so glad you had touched on it, too, is the bioluminescence. Whenever you pass away, and this was actually documented, and it'd take me probably a minute to find it, but I actually watched where they had taken pictures of right at the moment the body ceases, and they did this with, again, trigger warning. I'm going to give you a quick trigger warning before I say it, but they tested that theory on mice, and whenever the mice were in the process of being deceased, they would emit a light. So then, as they started testing on humans, they would essentially go to end of life care people, and they would actually see these lights emanating from them as well too.
Right.
It's such a fascinating thing. It really is. But
it makes sense, like when people talk about when you lose somebody, like just today I think it was just this morning that Catherine O'Hara passed, and
Yeah, yeah.
um, I've seen all kinds of people on social media saying that a lot has gone out of this world, and I think that
Hmm.
when you really meet somebody that you kind of resonate with, that you kind of see that light a little bit, and like you
Absolutely.
said, frequencies. You are aligned with different frequencies, so you're more susceptible or cognizant of those frequencies. And so I think when people say that a light has left the world when you lose somebody, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
to echo Tombstone, definitely rest in peace, Catherine O'Hara. I loved her in so much, especially Schitt's
no,
Creek. I love that show, such a
I
good
know
show.
it was good.
And then I think we all felt like we probably lost a mom after watching Home Alone,
Yeah.
but just a really really funny person and very talented.
Oh yeah.
Um, but in thinking about that, and we keep talking about light, and I know that we started out with deja vu, and but
Yeah.
as always, we tend to go into different territory. Um, it's I and I think Christy actually put that in perspective to me at one time. Is you know as you're around somebody who's passing away, you pay attention to their eyes. You pay attention to everybody's eyes. Your eyes are pretty much the window to your soul.
Hmm.
And I do think that you can gauge somebody pretty easily just by looking them in the eyes, and you'll probably understand if they're the right person to be in your life or not. And you get that shift in that feeling. But as somebody passes, and as somebody who has seen people pass, um, that light that you get in your eyes, that twinkle, it just turns off. And I think Christy said it, beautifully at one time, is that we can mourn the person that's still there, um, but that's not them anymore.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Schitt's Creek was the best. Yeah, Mora was amazing. Uh, so I'm looking at that chat in there too. So see, I'm trying to circle back to make it a little more lighthearted. But
Okay.
but so deja vu. The other thing I wanted to talk about too is Mandela Effect.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, um, who was it, Christy? His name's leaving me right now. Oh my gosh, he just made an album with the Yvette Brothers.
Oh,
I know who you're talking about.
my God,
Pat,
Robert
Pat,
or
Mike
Mike
Patton,
Patton.
Mike Patton.
Hmm.
So it's so strange because I remember watching on VH1 as a child uh, a documentary about Faith No More, and it was talking about Mike Patton passing away. And Christy, you said that you remember that too, right?
Yes, he took his own life.
Yeah, yeah. Trigger warning. But
Sorry.
yeah, but yeah, no. That's how I remember it too. Is that he took his own life, and if I remember it correctly, it was because he was so. And correct me if I'm wrong on this shared memory, but it was because he was essentially fed up with the music industry and the route that it was going.
I can't remember that deep. I just remember him not being here anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I can remember hearing nothing about Mike Patton until I think that Faith No More was coming back around and Mr. Bungle and stuff like that. And it turned out, I remember looking at you and I didn't say anything because you're like, oh, like, it's, I really want to see this show with Mike Patton. Let's see that. And I think I looked at you one day. I was like, Christy, I was like, I remember Mike Patton passing away. And you looked at me and your mouth was like kind of open. You were like, I remember that too, and I didn't want to say anything.
Mm.
um,
Oh.
another one that I think is strange too is I firmly stick by this is Richard Simmons. I remember Richard Simmons passing away twice now.
Yep.
And the other strange thing about Richard Simmons is that the version of him that I remember passing away, he wore a headband and the wrist guards, and apparently he never wore that.
Yep.
Um, John, do you remember Richard Simmons passing away more than once?
You know, now that you say that, it does seem like I remember that, but I feel like I was very young, like maybe 6. Like, was it in the early mid 90s that he supposedly passed once? Or
Hmm. See, I remember it happening, I think, around 2018. And then suddenly he was back, and Pauly Shore was gunning to be Richard Simmons. I was like, well, what the hell happened? I remember Richard Simmons passing away. And
Hmm.
then I think, Christy, don't you remember the actress that played Professor McGonagall? I'm butchering her name, Professor McGonagall in the Harry Potter movies. Didn't you say you remember her passing away more than once?
Uh,
Maggie Smith.
Maggie Smith.
Maybe, I'm not sure. My big one though is Don Knotts. I
See,
can
yeah.
remember, like, it was like 1998. I was in Walmart and I remember seeing a magazine that was celebrating the life and times of Don Knotts, and I remember seeing, like remembering him in death, blah 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 blah, and then he passed away in like 2006 or 2008. But I remember him passing away like 10 years prior to that.
Hmm.
But I seem to
See,
be the only one. But I can still remember what that magazine looked like.
well, I remember Don Knotts dying around early 2000s. Is that correct?
I think he passed away in 2006.
Was it really that? Yeah, I thought it was a little bit earlier than that, um, but yeah, I only remember Don Knotts passing away once. But the way you tell the story, I mean, I kind of believe it. And and you talk to all these folks, like, I mean, look at what is it, the Fruit of the Loom underwear never having a cornucopia on it.
That's
Uh,
BS.
yeah, that's BS.
Yeah.
That's BS.
My
I Go ahead.
the big one for me is that that movie
With
where
Sinbad,
where Sinbad was.
Mhm.
Shazam, or
I saw that movie Shazam.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know, and but I saw Kazam as well. I distinctly remember both of them.
Now
But
Kazam had Shaq, right?
yeah, Shaquille,
Okay.
but the kids looked a lot alike, but they weren't the same.
Well, I think they even like had a trailer for it that they managed to discover, and I think that the
Hmm.
cornucopia, like a lady was like, I have so much Fruit of the Loom with the cornucopia on it, um, and she did manage to find it, and so Fruit of the Loom was like, oh, I don't know where you got those from, and it's like, well, how the hell did that happen? Yeah, so Traveling Fools saying Shazam was totally real. So
Yeah, see, it
yeah.
was.
And what's the other one too? Which Christy and I, we've got to go dig some books out. The it apparently was the Berenstain Bears and not the Berenstein.
And I actually have in the cabin across the street, I have some books when I was young, the Berenstain Bears. And I cannot wait to get in there and see what it actually says because it's been locked, boarded up for years and years now.
Well, my dad, he used to work at Quebecor before it was Domtar, and he used to get like a lot of the rejected books, and he would bring them home. And one of those were the Barons were the was the Berenstein Bears books, and I remember Stein, not
Hmm.
Stain, and I remember like if as a kid if I had seen the name was Stain, I probably would have made fun of it. Um,
Right.
but I don't. Yeah, I always remember Steen. I watched Shaq levitate. Did you really watch Shaq levitate? I'm looking at that comment right there by Tombstone. Um, so what do you think it is about Mandela? I mean, what do you why it is for me? Like, if I want to go, there's multiple tinfoil hats I can wear with that. And one of them is that it being a big psyop, essentially trying to push misinformation, and see how far they can push that misinformation to see how much of that we can tolerate without collectively going, hold on, that didn't happen that way.
Yeah, I don't know what, because there's a lot of these that I swear I remember too, but I wonder, is it just the suggestive, thoughts? Is it suggestive reasoning that gets us, like, these other, somebody else feels like it's like they're just certain it's happened, or is there like is there another reality somewhere? Is there another
Mm.
uh alternate dimension where these things did occur? Somebody wrote their name wrong and it was Stain or Steen instead of the other, or this company decided to have a cornucopia, just the horn behind the fruit,
Mm.
and we're just, I don't know. It's a lot of people say that it's all fake. It's just people making up stuff, but I, I don't see what we have to gain from pretending something happened. I mean, it doesn't, like, what do we gain from saying, yeah, this movie existed, or it doesn't exist, or this, this
Well,
spelling is
that,
wrong,
yeah, yeah.
like,
Well, that's kind of what I'm looking at, though. Too, though. I mean, you say what do we gain on that? I think for that though, it's it almost makes me want to go like Orwellian or 1984. And if you get to the end of the book of 1984, and I could be misquoting it, as I'm prone to do, but it's there's a part where they say, how many fingers am I holding up? And he says four. And they say, no, there's three. And they go, and he goes, no, 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 it's four. And they go, no, this is three. And by the end of it, they break him, and he says, well, no, this is three. Um, and I know that goes on the nefarious side of things, but at the same time, though, if you look at everything that's going on out there right now, there's so much indoctrination and misinformation, and it's not even, I'm not just pointing at one party or the other. I'm not even just saying it's all political. I could say that if we can persuade the masses to think a certain way, well, then the powers that be can continue on being merry and rich, I suppose. But
yeah,
and that's me on my high horse a little bit too. But if we want to go on to the strange side of things, could we be slipping into parallel dimensions? And there's a part of me that could actually buy into the idea of parallel dimensions, and
yeah,
and there's days that I wake up and I go, well, the world feels a little bit different today. And if you get on social media, which social media can be a hell of a thing, which I try to stay off of as much as possible, everybody's always saying, especially here recently, um, and more importantly, I would say since 2019 especially, is that the world just feels different every day. It seems like there's something different.
yeah,
And I remember certain things being a certain way, all the way to people remembering the sun being a nice, pretty orange, and the world seems less colorful these days. Now, could that be rose tinted glasses, where we remember a happier childhood? Probably.
yeah.
Um, Probably, because as you get, older, things become more depressing because you start to realize the world for what it is. But could there be something to it? Could there be something dimensional to it? And I don't know if Christy's picking up on what I'm saying, but let's go back to 2012. Christy, you know what I'm alluding to?
I believe so.
Go ahead and say it.
Are you talking about the Mayan calendar?
That's part of it, sure.
Hmm.
This is really vague to put me on the spot with.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Uh, it's kind of concerning. That was a good hint. That was a really good hint.
I am at a loss.
So I remember back in 2012, you and I were actually looking at CERN.
Oh.
Yeah, so CERN. And so one of that, we have to look at the black hole doomsday fears, and that's the theory behind CERN right now. And so a lot of the conspiracy theorists right now are saying that every time CERN turns on, something changes. And they have openly admitted that they're able to create black holes within their facility. And that's not fabrication. That's just what they're documented as stating, is that they are able to create tiny black holes and keep them contained inside their facility. And that's something, black space scares the hell out of me, anyways. The infinite amount, the infinite vacuum of space terrifies me. And if I think about space too long, I start to spiral a little bit because it's just the blackness of it and the trillions of planets and endlessness of it can
Opposites
tend
of
to
sound.
unsettle me. And black holes are one of those things that also scare the living hell out of me. I'd rather not know what they are. But what is, if we are creating black holes at CERN in other facilities, there's even theories that we're creating these kind of things in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Um, could they be opening up, these different portals that are sucking us into these black holes, and we just keep ending up into very similar dimensions? But if we look at the black hole doomsday theory, before the LHC's first run in 2008, conspiracy theorists and a few other fringe scientists claimed collisions could create microscopic black holes that might grow and devour Earth. Lawsuits were filed in Hawaii and Europe to halt the operations, citing risks like strange matter or false vacuum decay, or hypothetical scenarios where the universe's stability may in fact collapse. CERN and physicists countered that any such black holes would evaporate instantly via Hawking radiation, and cosmic rays naturally produce similar energies without issues. The machines started up safely, but the panic made global headlines, with media asking, "Will the world end on Wednesday?" Those fears surfaced with every upgrade, like the 2025 restart. Um, so that was a big thing on the internet too, is that everybody said 2025 was the beginning of something new. And if you look at 2026, it's been already a wild year, and we're not even done with January. We're not even done with January, and shit is wild out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I want to
Uh,
interrupt really
yeah.
quick. I know what Tombstone is talking about with watching Shaq levitate. Didn't Chris Angel make him levitate, supposedly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what she's saying on there, which I don't know how much I buy into the Chris Angel thing. But I would yeah. Let's hear. Let's pull Tombstone up real quick. Yeah, Chris Angel made him levitate
Oh,
in
I didn't
2013.
see that. I'm sorry.
Let me see if I can actually pull up a video of Shaq levitating.
While you do that, let me throw in a couple of cents here. If something that we've talked about in the past, quantum immortality.
Mm-hmm.
What if you're right? What if all these doomsday things that's occurred, like actual global annihilation, has occurred, and every time it occurs, collectively, everybody on Earth jumps, and we all jump to like the same one,
Mm-hmm.
basically. That'd be that's I think an interesting thought as to what all these Mandela effects are.
Yeah. Well, but and I'm glad you said that, because I think I've said as much to Christine multiple times, is that I believe that I don't know if I believe, but I can sort of, if I think about it too much, I can kind of grasp the idea of maybe we have all collectively had world ending scenarios, and we just continually wake up in different parallel dimensions. I'm glad that we're all still here together, you know, but that's probably why we don't remember certain things, or maybe we do remember certain things, but it didn't happen that way. And if you look at the Sophie case, where we had her state that she was, pewed and deceased, and came back, and anniversaries were wrong, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's, yeah. All right, let me go ahead and pull up this video of Shaq and Chris Angel. I got this right here.
I'm curious. I want to see this.
And we'll bring back the jams in just a second. I love the music.
It's Flavor Flav.
That is Flavor Flav. Shaq is ascended. Goodbye, Shaq. Do you think he's sleeping soundly while that's happening?
After work.
I don't know. I probably would want to be.
I'm sorry, I had to mute for a second. It was really funny.
It was pretty funny. So,
I love Flavor Flav. He is hilarious.
oh, Flavor Flav cracks me up. Absolutely.
No, I don't remember seeing that.
I like that. I like that comment. Tombstone, light as a feather, stiff as a board, and I think that's my sentiments too for traveling fools. Is the heck? I think mine was more the fuck.
I mean, you would think there'd have to be some kind of crane.
Yeah.
To do that, like to lift him up. But
so I don't know, and the reason why I say I don't really buy the Chris Angel stuff is that I think that Chris Angel, for the most part, has been, shown to be pretty fraudulent. Now, if it were somebody like a David Blaine, I'd probably be more apt to believe it. But yeah, I don't know, and I think it's just the cringe factor of Chris Angel that gets to me too. So, I didn't see any wire. I didn't see anything like that. But yeah. Can you imagine just, I almost want to see if Shaq will come. Shaq usually does side quests anyways. Maybe we'll get Shaq on the show whenever we get bigger and be like, man, you got to tell me about that. And he'd be like, and he would just be like, yeah, Chris Angel definitely made me float. His Flavor Flav's expression was the best part of that video for sure. So, all right. So, CERN, and then the perpetual falling, which again I think that correlates to our file is whenever we talked a little bit about us being in this just idea of a spiral. We continue to go, and the more I continue, I think that we are definitely on a preordained destination, but there's choices that we can make along the way that actually can shift that reality that we know. So it's incredible stuff. So perhaps the most outlandish cluster of conspiracy theories involving CERN involves allegations that CERN's experiments open portals to parallel universes, or it can possibly summon entities. Since CERN has opened, there have been more reports of supernatural entities by the public. In 2024 and 2025, posts circulated about physicists detecting a ghost-like structure or an invisible entity altering particle paths. Though this stems from misinterpreted data or hoaxes, Dr. Astrid Stuckelberger, that's a name, a former World Health Organization scientist, claimed in interviews that CERN has access up to 17 dimensions, with non-human beings entering via portals, even stealing items like scarves. That's strange. Other reports mention unexplained magnetic spikes, thermal anomalies, and apparitions near the site. A 2025 video claimed a non-human entity emerged and sat at a table. CERN denies all this, stating experiments mimic cosmic events safely and produce no portals, which, if I were a company like CERN, I probably would say something very safe like that. These theories often tie into the Mandela Effect, suggesting LHC runs or shift timelines. And then with insiders, they report glitches in the Matrix or a reality glitch. Anonymous CERN workers on forums like Reddit have shared tales of reality just feeling off after they perform these experiments, linking to quantum effects or altered timelines. Do you see how everything kind of circles back that we talk about? One 2023 post discussed a hole in the heliosphere from Voyager probes amplifying CERN's impacts. Podcasts explore these with guests like Gary Wayne tying CERN to ancient myths or biblical watchers. CERN dismisses such claims as misinformation, emphasizing their work advances knowledge without cosmic risk. These cases blend real mishaps with pseudoscience, often amplified by social media. CERN's FAQ addresses many myths directly, stressing safety and transparency, while the LHC pushes physics boundaries. No evidence supports world ending or supernatural outcomes. If you're into the science side, the cold temperature, colder than space, and vast ignorance about the universe, we only know about 5% of the known universe, are strange enough on their own. So, and again, kind of going back into the paranormal side of things, the idea of ghosts, I don't know if I actually believe that whenever we go out there and we have something happen, or we experience something, or we hear a sound, or we hear EVPs, I don't think that is what I would deem as a spirit. If I had to get on the more technical side and suspend my belief and truly believe in what I'm experiencing, I would almost say that it's all residual, that it's imprinted, or we could be picking up echoes from the past, or echoes from parallels.
Right.
So,
makes sense.
Any thoughts or comments? I'm getting ready to open up the lines, or I'm going to attempt to open up the lines. If anybody wants to come on and talk, you are about to be able to. So we have about, I think we can go for about another 20, 30 minutes. Let me see here. Okay. So the link that I just put in there, if you should be able to click that link, and that should bring you in as a guest if you all want to talk. And now is your chance to come on and talk to the Window Bros and talk about everything we've talked about tonight. So we've talked about deja vu, deja vamu, deja may. I'm just making up things right now. Mandela Effect. We've talked about CERN. We've talked about life and death and the ugliness and the beauty of it, reincarnation. And as we tend to do in the way the world works, it's kind of a spiral. We tend to spiral a little bit.
And Shaq weighed 415 pounds when he was supposedly levitated.
Wow.
Well, I kind of like Tombstone's light as a feather, stiff as a board. Yeah. Is that how they did that? Was light as a feather, stiff as a board? Let's see here. Let's see if we got anything on the YouTubes for deja vu. So anything else you guys want to talk about tonight? Anything that piques your interest, or a general wrap up?
I'm looking at this Dr. Astrid Stuckelberger, because apparently this is the person that there's been videos of her speaking out, saying that something's wrong with reality. So,
what's it talking about?
I don't know. I'll have to look at it. It's YouTube videos. It's like 17 minutes long. I'm not gonna watch all of it, but it's just this. It's this doctor that worked at CERN saying that. Just speaks it, but you know how clickbait is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, it's probably clickbait. So that's what I'm gonna go with until I watch it, and I'm sure it's clickbait.
Let's see here, Dr. Astrid Stuckelberger. My apologies.
You probably would have found it with just Stuckelberg. I should just be quiet.
Dr. Astrid Stuckelberger is a scientist, researcher, and teacher for 25 years at the Faculty of Medicine of the University of Geneva and Lausanne, Switzerland. She also gives lectures and is an invited professor in academic training throughout the world. As an international expert in different health and public health related issues, her main focus has always been about people's health and well being, about disease prevention and longevity. Some of her expert perspective cover gender, aging, social determinants of health, disruptive innovation, and health technologies, but also the spectrum of equity, human rights, and regulation. In this context, she has worked with the World Health Organization on international health regulation and public health emergency management between 2009 and 2003. Let's see here. Nothing about CERN so far. Just quite a few books.
Mhm.
CERN. Okay, so let's go back to Reddit. In the high strangeness subreddit, Strange claims there is a portal, or scientists claims that there is a portal beneath CERN where beings come and go. The claim was made by Dr. Astrid Stuckelberger, a Swiss scientist who asserts that CERN is working on a secret nuclear program and that there is a portal beneath CERN through which beings like to come and go. Oh, it's in Spanish. Let's go to English.
Yeah, it seems to be like secondhand accounts.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, 2 years ago, Dr. Stuckelberger was interviewed by Maria Z on Z Media. This interview was published on Rumble, which, again, you can take that with a grain of salt, where she discussed many strange things, one of which was the frightening experiments at CERN. Dr. Stuckelberger stated that CERN is dealing with nuclear radio research and that many physicists are conducting very strange experiments. She said that CERN physicists told her there are beings coming from portals entering and exiting. She said, yes. She said, yes. And they were saying, I met them at a dinner. There were two of them. And they both said, yes. They have, indirect evidence that the people who, are dealing with the Higgs boson and the subatomic. So apparently, in the underground of CERN, there is a portal, this door, where they're dealing with all the subatomic dimensions. So again, that kind of sounds like, what you would say is like hearsay. It sounds like she's giving an account, but I don't know if she's actually experienced it herself.
Right.
But part of that was that scientists are discussing wormholes, theoretical structures in space-time that could, according to some interpretations of general relativity and the string theory, potentially connect distant points in the universe or even different dimensions through a tunnel-like passage. Perhaps there are different life forms on the other side. Who knows? But Michio Kaku explains the concepts of the multiverse. There are invisible creatures among us. Perhaps a portal could create a path for them. Which we do hear about multiverses quite a bit here lately. Thanks a lot, Marvel. You've ended us all.
Yep. That's funny.
All right. Well, the last thing I'll probably end with too, and I was talking to Christy about it, was that atoms they've discovered have a form of intelligence, and that atoms can function depending on if they perceive that they're being looked at. Which I actually was watching a Neil deGrasse Tyson video who was talking about it too, and he mentioned the slit theory. So if you were to shine a light through two slits, the way the light would actually go through it would differ depending on if anybody was in the room actually watching it. So and according to the theory or the experiment behind it was that they had to essentially hide a camera, pretend to leave, and then the light would actually show something completely different as long as the atoms and light rays perceived that they were not being examined or watched. And so the idea of the reality that we see is that as we look at things, we're seeing it as we are, but whenever we turn around, it's almost essentially, you talk about like gaming or like rendering. while you're in an open world game, it looks vast and expansive, but it's usually constantly rendering as you're walking through it, and there's usually nothing there. That's what the theory is kind of saying, is that whenever I turn around, what's behind me could possibly not be rendered, and if it's not being perceived by anybody. I'm not sure how much I buy that, but I do buy the idea of atoms potentially having some form of base intelligence where it can react around us.
Yeah, I could see that, but I mean, when you were leaving the room earlier, working on the technical difficulties, the light behind you looked like it stayed about the same. May not have though,
because you perceived it, John.
Perception
It knew you were watching.
Is reality.
Perception is reality. All right. Well, I think it's a quiet night tonight, and unless you guys have anything else, I think I'm pretty much good on my end. I don't think I really have a lot left. Anything you guys want to wrap up with?
No.
Take us home, Christy.
Don't put me on the spot.
Take us home, John.
well, I think that once I find Shazam, we need a movie night.
Think so. Think so. That should be your quest, to find a copy of Shazam.
Well, even he says it doesn't exist, but I don't believe him. I think he's been paid.
I think he's been paid by the Illuminati.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The Fruit Illuminati. I got jokes. All right. Well, guys, I'm going to wrap it up for the night. And as always, it's been wonderful talking to you all. I always feel like we have I don't know if intelligence is the right word, but interesting conversation. But I do think that we tend to use our brains and for noodles a lot in order to try to decipher what's real, what's not, and what could be potentially real. As always, thank you all for tuning in. I think we had quite a few viewers tonight. Fairly active chat. So, and Tombstone, thank you so much for that wonderful compliment for a great stream. Hopefully it came through well this time. I know last time we did it, we were using OBS and my poor computer was chugging with how many destinations I had. I think that we finally found something that works for us. But on that end, I think my takeaway from this is that we don't know what to believe. We don't know what to believe, but when it happens to us, we're probably going to have that tickling in the back of our head saying, I think I've been here before, or I think I've talked about this before. And I remember that being a little bit differently. That's my takeaway for tonight, is that not everything may be what it seems. And the things that are knocking on your door that are supposedly supernatural may just be you somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, I think the brain is a very complex and curious thing that just continues to surprise us. And if none of this is real, if it's actually all in our heads, then it's pretty amazing that it can be so just we're so convinced based on our senses and what our brain can do. So I think it really is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thanks for playing Floating Shack. You're welcome, Tombstone. Yeah, that's what we're here for. Flavor Flav.
Flavor Flav.
All right, Christy, anything to end with?
I do have one thing, but I'm afraid it might go off into another tangent.
That's okay. What's up?
For it.
It's the whole jumping timelines and things like that. That also ties into theories of shadow people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Speaking of shadow people, I see John petting a shadow creature right now.
I do, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, let me see here. Let's see here.
Come here.
I just see a green screen. Oh, there it is. It's the supernatural.
I know. It's like I'm not picking her up.
I know it. That's pretty cool.
I guess because she's dark. And it's just.
Did you ever think that you would have an interdimensional dog?
She's wild. She wants to go play in the snow. She loves the snow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Banjo's been nuts for the snow. All right. Well, guys, I think that's all we got for tonight. Speaking of snow, everybody be very careful out there. I think it's supposed to continue on through tomorrow. I think it stopped for a little while, so let's pick back up tonight here in the South. Be careful. Get off the roads. I've been looking at stuff all day, and a lot of people just going out to look for restaurants that are open, or just driving around because they want to feel brave. That's just silly. If you got the means to stay home, stay home. If you have to go out, don't go out unless you absolutely have to. So yeah, just enjoy the snow, like Lady there. Just enjoy the snow and cuddle up. So, well, guys, thank you all so much, and big thank you to Christy for the topic tonight. I feel like it's been, I think it's been. Speaking of our quantum computers that we have in our heads, I think it's definitely caused that to work a little bit in overtime tonight. So, and hopefully you guys don't think too much, because you might manifest it into reality. And that's all I got. You guys all take it easy. And make sure you like, share, subscribe. Tell everybody about the Winter Bros. Before we go, I know we keep talking. We are slated for Saucers Over Appalachia. So expect to see the Winter Bros out there in full swing. Saucers Over Appalachia. I think that's June 26th. And we had a great time there. We were loaded with people coming to that booth. And then we will also be speakers at the Kentucky Paranormal Expo, where you can see John and I talking about bumbling through and talking about the paranormal and our perspectives on it, which may be a little bit ostracizing, but we tell it how we see it, and sometimes we don't see anything. So, and then we also have Frag-A-Ween in October. And you can expect to see us on Hulu, of all places, which it will be streamed to Hulu that night too. So a lot of big things coming up. I think we also have an investigation, if we can all manage it and get to it without any hiccups happening. It's a tentative. We will be investigating the South Pittsburgh Hospital in the Chattanooga region. And we have a documentary that we are currently in the pre-production for Appalachian Witchcraft, which I think we already have about 8 people willing to be interviewed. And then we have a lot more episodes coming up that we're kind of keeping hush-hush about until we decide on how we want to handle it. But it does involve going back to the Euro Shrine, which we're all very fond of. And we love Rick out there too. So, yep. So I actually thought this was going to be a boring year, and it's actually already turning out to be quite the year. So our cup is starting to runneth over already. So, and you can catch us on the Dark Signal Live every other Saturday. So not this coming Saturday, we won't be on there, but the one after that we will be live again. So, and hopefully everyone can get on at that time. But yeah, you all stay safe out there, and have a good night. And that's all I've got. Like, share, and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.